We need to pull some Holdo maneuvers.
This is where the fun begins.
This is where
Hello again, everyone. Yeah. Well, also, happy 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, one day after its 20th anniversary. Also, happy belated birthday to Mike for yesterday. His birthday was also on the same day as, well, I mean, not the same. He wasn't born the day that Revenge of the Sith came out. But yeah, welcome back, Patrick. Welcome back to the Holdo Maneuver.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you.
Always a pleasure to be back.
Appreciate that. And people may notice I have a new surroundings behind me that's still in the stages of being set up. So I'm much closer to Lucasfilm now. I'll just say that. But
okay.
Yeah. But yeah.
People may notice a new background behind me because I'm in my childhood bedroom.
Nice. Probably where you watched a lot of Star Wars growing up.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
The only Star Wars that has been watched in this room so far is the Andor series finale. Which
not a bad one-off. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. The last 3 episodes of the show. I guess technically Rogue One would kind of sort of be the series finale to Andor in a way.
The television finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was your overall kind of thoughts on the second season series as a whole in general, before we kind of
I mean, for sure. I think the second season was a lot like the first season for me, in that the beginning had so much table setting that it sort of made the first arc a little slow. But that's only because you have so many things to catch up on, and so many, like, you had to put this person in this spot and this person in this spot and this, you had to get everyone in the right spots for the rest of the season to progress. So as soon as we got through that initial growing pains, same with the first season, it was firing on all cylinders. It ruled. It had some of my favorite Star Wars stuff, period, and some of my favorite, I would even say, like, some of my favorite, like, things in media, period. Episode 9 and 10 are probably my 2 favorites, I'd assume. I think I've only watched all of them once. I haven't really gone back that much yet. But episode 9 is my favorite of the season. That's the Mothma getting out of the Senate episode. It ruled so much. It was just everything I wanted to see in, when you're setting up that idea of, like, this is happening at some point. Never in my wildest dreams did I assume we would see it in live action with Genevieve O'Reilly. Like, it's so insane that it exists, and that's so cool. But this last arc was amazing.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, sorry, this last arc was amazing. It led into so much, and it made me. I've watched both the beginning and the ends of Rogue One now. I haven't done the middle, but I watched the first, like, 15 minutes and then the last, like, 40 minutes or so. And it makes that movie so much better than it already was, and that's a movie that I really love a lot. So getting to have all this additional context and additional, like, world building for that version of Star Wars is a gift and a treasure, and something that I don't know how we will ever get something like it again. So I think we all need to, like, internalize and take this in, that this was something very special, and this was something that hopefully Lucasfilm learns the right lessons from and takes away the right things from it. And who knows what that is, but I loved it. I had such a great time. What about you? Tell me about your take.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's another Andor Tuesday for us. It's the first Andor Tuesday without Andor, but we are your Andor Tuesday for this Tuesday, so there you go.
Just as good.
Yeah.
Marc is your Cassian, I am your Mon Mothma.
There you go.
Okay.
I think I think that's but yeah, like what you're saying with Mon Mothma too, like for fans of Rebels, if people had watched Star Wars Rebels, like you could
Yeah.
With last week's episodes, you could basically go, I think it was season 3, episode 18.
Totally.
Of Rebels that people could. It's basically like that's what happens just after that episode of Andor with Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've enjoyed this season a lot too, and just the series overall. Like you said, not just like great Star Wars, but also just like a great show. Like you could watch this show and not have any kind of love for Star Wars, or be like,
for sure.
I mean, it doesn't have lightsabers in it or anything like that. It's literally, that's just like a good like prestige drama that just happens to be set in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
And I hope that.
No, I was just gonna say I came into this room late because I was in the living room watching the first 3 episodes of season 1 with my parents, and they'd never seen it. And they're like, they've seen Star Wars, but they're not like big Star Wars people. And my selling point was like, this is a show for people who you don't have to care about any of that. Like none of that. Yeah. You're okay not knowing any of this stuff,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, no worries. I was gonna say, just like with that too, that I hope that that's kind of recognized like a award season with like Genevieve O'Reilly and Diego Luna, and
for sure
most of the rest of the cast too, just like, because I know like usually like sci-fi stuff usually sometimes gets overlooked with like award seasons, unless it's the Saturn Awards or something like that. Genre stuff doesn't really, but I think a lot of the especially like you were saying with that Mon Mothma episode, that was, I think, like one of the best episodes of the series in general. Yeah. Really quick, we're gonna show Mike's short review that he sent to us. He wasn't able to quite finish the season in time to join us tonight, but he sent us a 5-minute video that I'm gonna play right now for a moment. So that'll give Patrick or myself time to run to the bathroom if we need to. But,
that's true. I'm gonna go make dinner.
All right, so here is Mike.
Hey y'all, sorry I couldn't be there during this review of Andor season 2. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. I'm just severely behind. So missed opportunity for sure. Just really wish I could have been partaking in all these discussions because they've all been really great. My thoughts so far, I've just started the first episode of the final 3, and I'm at the part where Deirdre has met with Luthen, and that's as far as I'll go. I've just been blown away at how good this series has been, and the time jumps really, they've been jarring a little because like you think it's like the next day, but it's really not between the series. Yes, that's a wheelbarrow over my shoulder. I'm digging my own grave here. It's overall just so well done, and the costuming design has just been amazing. Like Cyril's outfit with like the turtleneck and the tie through, like I don't know why I dig that so much, because turtlenecks suck. Don't get me wrong. I mean, turtlenecks feel like if Peter Dinklage was trying to take me down, and like just had like he had like a one broken hand or something. He was just hand around my neck, just trying to pull on me. But yeah, the costume design has been phenomenal. Writing has been just outstanding. I can't imagine what's going to happen in the final 2 episodes before we would have gotten Rogue One. Yeah, Tony Gilroy has hit it out of the park, and I wish we could have more Andor, more Rogue One from him, more everything from him. Like, he just reinvigorated Star Wars and what it means in a way to me. Like, we've had so much divide, so much hate about it. But at the same time, like, I've loved everything that's come out so far. But this has been, like, this is top notch. Like, for me, it's always been, like, Empire, Rogue One. So it's like, this story's the best series we've had for Star Wars, bar none. And I'm not even done with it. At the same time, it's like, man, Cyril went out. Like, his story bookended nicely because like that was his whole thing. I gotta find this Cassian guy. And then he does find him, and it's his demise. Like justice for Cyril in a way, because I just want to watch him eat cereal for like 45 minutes straight, just angrily, spoon after spoon. Just want to see that. I wanted to see more of the Deirdre and Cyril story, like behind the scenes stuff. Like you kind of get a sense of where they are, and his last act with her was very much deserving of his end, but at the same time, like I wish he may have changed his heart a little more and gone to the other side when he realized what she was doing on Gorman there. But so it's just fantastic. I just want more of this all the time. And for all those like Kathleen Kennedy haters, we wouldn't have this without her, if you think about it. I don't think Lucas would have ever allowed a Rogue One Andor stuff to be made. I think he would have put the kibosh on it and just like swept it under the rug. I don't think we would have gotten this amazing series and been a phenomenal movie. So, digging what Andor Season 2 laid down. It's so good. For those of you who have not watched it yet, you gotta. Like, I'm mad at myself for delaying watching it. Usually I'm right on top of it. Just, life got in the way, as we say in our intro, to an extent. But thank you to all those who carried the load and kept this show going while I was struggling to do anything other than work and just be burdened by everything. But again, just missed opportunity. I'm still here. I'll be back for Rogue One for sure. I can talk about that because I've seen that a million times. So I'll be there for Rogue One, folks. Sorry I've been missing you. So catch you next time. Thank you all filling in. Thanks, Marc, for keeping us going. He's the real unsung hero of this podcast. He's the one who keeps us going, keeps us on track. Just really makes me look like I'm really unprepared all the time. But no, that's good. I bring the chaos. He brings the steady hand while I bring the ridiculous chaos. So thanks, guys. Tune in next time. It's been great.
It has been great.
I didn't know Mike was gonna give me like props in that, so that was the first time I was watching it. So thank you,
great,
Michael. Yeah, because like peak beyond the curtain, at least for this, is like I wanted to continue coverage for Andor this season, even though like I knew I was gonna be like moving over the past month. Like it literally like started the day that I was like, I think the finale, I think it aired like I don't know. But it's been going on during that, so that's why the past 2 weeks, again, I want to thank Allison and Canadian Justin, as I affectionately call him, and Chris Plastic and Stanford for filling in for us those 2 weeks. I really appreciate you guys for doing that and being Holdo guest hosts for those weeks, so people could still talk about Andor for those weeks. I enjoyed listening to them as I was packing. But this, I don't know, like, now, for this season, for this season, who is like your favorite character arc? As from like,
oh man, I mean,
I know it's kind of tough.
Yeah, a hard question. You know who really, I mean, and I don't think this is a hot take at all, but like, who really stuck out and like really kind of blew me away this year is Elizabeth Delau, who was Kleya. She's so good, and it's insane that this was her first. Yeah, thank you, Lauren, in the comments right there. This is her first thing. They like hired her out of acting school, and she like fucking blew me away. It's insane. It's just like I think Tony Gilroy said in an interview where he was like, if you are a Kleya fan, if you are an Elizabeth Delau fan, you're getting in on the ground floor of something right now, and you have the chance to have like a very cool thing where you're like, I've been following her since literally the very first thing that she did. And it's she's amazing. She's amazing and she's so cool. I follow her on Instagram now and she seems great and delightful. I would like to be friends. Elizabeth, if you're watching, I would like to be friends. But yeah, she was great. So much of Genevieve's stuff in episode 9 when he shoots the driver, just like her look of like
New meme
abject
template
shock
now too.
is so cool. What else? Is there anything? I'm like trying. I mean, everyone obviously, but like Dedra in the last like 2 arcs is so good.
Yeah.
And I love Benjamin Bratt. I really like Benjamin Bratt. I was like, I had heard that he was gonna be Bale before the season started, back in, I don't know, probably like 3 months ago or something like that. And I was like really bummed about it, and I was really sad about it. And it because I love Jimmy Smits and I love Bale, and having that lack of continuity, it like doesn't. It's not a freaking game, game ruiner for me, show ruiner for me. But like it was a bummer. It was a bummer, and getting him there and having him be good and having him like really pull off those scenes was a big feat. Recasting's not easy, and he pulled it off. This is a good point Lauren's bringing up in the comments. He did say shit. Jimmy Smits never said shit. So
Bail Organa
who wins?
said shit.
Bail Organa said shit. Yeah.
But
yeah, everyone's so good.
I was gonna say, as a cyclical thing to bring that back around, Jimmy Smits was on NYPD Blue, which famously got to be the first show on like regular like network TV to say shit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and also to show Dennis Franz's little butt.
I mean that too.
I do want to point out for everyone watching, when you Google Dennis Franz butt, I believe I am the first thing that pops up, maybe the second, because I posted a GIF of it on Twitter.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's the first or second thing that pops up.
I was gonna say I request elaboration to why.
Just want to brag a little bit. Just want to brag.
Yeah, if you go back to watch NYPD Blue and he pulls his pants down, it's just your face.
I've never watched it.
Either have I.
Never seen the show. Yeah. But no, I mean everyone is so good. Going down to like, Partagaz is so good. Like literally I could say this about every single person on the show. The other guy, the bald ISB guy with Partagaz. Ramadi? Is he Ramadi? I can't remember. I know there's one of the guys named Ramadi. I'm just confirming now. No, not Ramadi. Ramadi's in Rogue One.
So many Game of Thrones actors in Star Wars.
Yes. But that guy is so good. Like everyone is. It's crazy. Everyone brings their A game, and you could pull out like 7 people, and each of them could be your favorite character.
Yeah.
It rules. The little grandma who's scatting with Kleya in the hospital. I like that little lady.
Oh yeah.
The little ET lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, with that too, that reminds me is that I almost think Tony Gilroy took the heart, because I remember there was people that made some comments like from the first season that there was like barely any other like alien-esque like creatures or like beings like in that first season, and like this season we got a lot of characters like that. So without it being distracting, but it seems like they kind of took that to heart a tiny bit to kind of fill out it to not just be like humanoid characters within the show. That was nice.
There's I mean, here's the thing, you can do things without feeling like they're shoehorned in, and I think they found a really nice way this season specifically how to like shoehorn a lot of dumb lore stuff in that first season Tony Gilroy would have pushed his nose up at, but he was very good and really adept at taking some of the like weirder aspects of the Star Wars universe and making it feel seamless.
Yeah. I really liked how,
whether that was EU stuff or new canon stuff. Sorry to interrupt.
I was gonna say I really liked how like Krennic was kind of peppered in there too. Like
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't in every episode, but like he was layered
Yeah.
in like just enough so that like again when you go and watch Rogue One, you can kind of feel
Yeah.
like exactly like what he was doing over the
Yeah.
past few years or so and like building up whatnot. So I thought
I mean, I didn't even
that was really
name.
well done.
As I said, I didn't even name Krennic, but like some of the Krennic scenes are like my favorite scenes this season.
Yep.
The scene with him and Dedra is like one of the all time great Star Wars
Oh
scenes.
yeah,
You know?
the just like
Oh my god, it's great. Did you see the photo or the drawing of Neil and Dedra? Neil from Skeleton Crew.
I don't
Great.
think I
I'm
have.
so excited. I'm so excited to show you this.
Okay. Let's see this.
Okay, hang on one second. Keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, Dedra and Neil were not two characters I ever thought would be in the same sentence. Two very
No.
diametrically opposed characters. Uh, yeah. With her too. What I thought was kind of interesting is that like in the first like few episodes, people or like yeah those first 3 episodes or so, people were okay. Here I'll put, here we go.
So silly.
Oh.
So silly.
Kenny says, ask Patrick about the special features for the I'm George Lucas Blu-ray.
All right, Kenny. I mean, Kenny, look, we're sorry to interrupt this conversation. Last year we had a documentary come out about the George Lucas Talk Show, which is a show that I produce. And we're seemingly very close to signing a deal for a Blu-ray release. My goal is, of course, to have as much bonus content on there as possible. And the last few months have just been me working very hard to make sure that there are multiple dozens of hours of content on there.
There'll be an audio commentary.
And I think there's at least one audio commentary. Don't you worry. There are plenty of audio commentaries on there. There, my goal has been to have the most audio commentaries that have ever been on a movie before.
Nice.
That is my goal for that.
Much like a lot of the films that came out in the early 2000s, one of them should randomly have Kevin Smith as one of the people in the commentary because he did a lot of commentaries that he had no like.
Not a bad idea to ask.
Yeah.
I have not burned that ask yet, but it's not a terrible idea.
He loves to talk.
That's true.
About
That's true. And friend of the show. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's true. So hopefully, Kenny, you'll find out more as soon as able to talk about things. You know.
Nice. Yeah.
Anyways, back to Krennic and Dedra. Let's talk to Krennic and Dedra. Let's talk about them.
Yeah.
Those bad boys.
One of the things I saw with that too is that I thought was funny is like he said say the word. Although I guess in basic Death Star is one word.
That's true.
I guess,
well, I guess say the word.
Yeah, like
yeah,
like an Orabesh. And I thought it would have been funny if Dedra was like, actually, it's 2 words. Yeah. Like, I wanted you to say Stardust, not Death Star.
Well, that's what I assumed she was gonna say.
Yeah, me too.
I assumed
you said one word.
Yeah. That's fully what I assumed.
And then that feels like a little bit better segue into Rogue One too if they're saying Stardust still, I guess.
For sure.
But I also saw there's kind of like another theory that like if she wasn't like trying to scour so much for like access rather stuff, and she hadn't just like left the things that she was randomly getting in her inbox by mistake, that basically Rogue One, New Hope, everything after that doesn't happen because Dedra didn't get the wrong emails and didn't report them.
It's really fun that the more things come out that are building up around New Hope, the more you see how small of a chance everything was. You know what I mean? How perfectly everything had to land, and I think that that's so cool because it makes everything that happens in New Hope feel more special in a way. You know, just because it's like all of these insane things need to align in order for this one thing
Yeah.
to happen, which is rad. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's
We
so
also
cool.
we also got like the origin of rebellions are built on hope within the season
Loved
too.
it. I
So
loved it.
and I guess Gilroy put that in there because one of his kids made fun of him for that line in Rogue One. So he's like,
Mhm.
you know
Screw
what,
you. It's filmed in the show. Yeah.
it's gonna get an origin story now. So there you go. Uh, I just did the Leo point when the
Oh yeah.
hotel clerk said it. I was like, oh, he said the thing. He said the thing.
I think I
Um,
just said rad because that was what I was saying most of the time when I was watching this season. It was just me being like rad, rad, rad. Or when
Yeah.
someone showed up or they mentioned someone and I would just go, I would just thumbs up. That's what I would do. I'd be like,
yeah,
they'd say the word radus and I'd be like, yep, yep.
yeah. Oh, so with these 3 episodes too, I liked the thing that they kind of did here too. Like you were talking about Kleya, they did
Mhm.
a nice flashback that like, and flashbacks are kind of like a new thing for Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I liked this flashback that we got with Luthen and Kleya in here, and they 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 did de-age Skarsgård a little bit, but it wasn't like it wasn't like distracting. It was basically like a haircut, uh,
Yeah.
and like slightly, like brushing up his face. It seemed like,
Mhm.
but I liked kind of showing like almost in a way, or in a way, it shows that essentially what he was doing was, even though uh, Clay asks him, "Am I your daughter now?" and he says, like, when it's useful. I think,
Mhm.
like, I don't think he would have admitted it, but she is probably why, like, he
Yeah.
was doing, like, burning, you know, the sunset he'll never, or sunrise he'll never see for other people, which is for her, basically. And then, like, the fact
Look,
that she has to basically take him off, like, life care.
yeah. But it feels like the only ending for that character. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
really feels like she was she was born to do all of that stuff, including ending Luthen. She knew she had to do it. He knew he had to do it, and it was the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Lauren saying his wig was bad. I agree, but that, Mark and I love Lost, and that's a hallmark of flashbacks or bad wigs.
Yeah.
So
And even
it
someone
is
on Lost, it famously has a meme. It's like, "Do you wear wigs?" So,
that's
you know,
true. It's
this
true.
guy, this guy right
Yeah,
here,
look at him.
looks
What a
familiar.
guy.
Yeah, who's
The
also in
only
Star Wars.
oh, that's true. The only one of those figures that I've taken out of the box is that one.
Yeah, that's also the only one. Well, yeah, that's true.
I
But yeah.
have all of them. It's the only one I've taken out of the box.
Oh, which that reminds me, talking about Dominic Monaghan, you after episode 9 of Andor, I liked your review of episode 9. You're like,
What was my
if you,
review? I don't
you're like, for once I can say episode 9 fucking rocked.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's true. I
that made
wonder
me
if there's
laugh a
any
little.
other good episode 9s. I'm like, are the
Um,
Mando episodes or any of
oh,
the episode 9s really good for Mando? I can't remember.
I don't know because like
Uh,
some of the shows didn't even go 9 episodes. Like
yeah,
so,
season 2, the season 2 premiere is episode 9,
okay. So yeah, I
which
guess
is
so.
fine. It's fine.
I think episode 9 of Andor is better than chapter 9 of Mando
I would say
though.
so too.
Yeah.
I would say so too.
But yeah, so yeah, like yeah, Luthen's end, that like you said, that kind of was a fitting ending to that. We were
Mhm.
talking about Dedra and Cyril a little bit too. It's like in the beginning of the season, like people were kind of like memeing their relationship a little bit there too. I mean,
Mhm.
there was even like
Mhm.
the Cyril on the bed kind of thing there,
Yeah.
which
So
apparently that was just like a improv thing that he did.
uh,
So it
it's
wasn't
very
even that
funny.
wasn't yeah. But it's it's good where we end up seeing like where like Cyril's story ends and where Digital's story ends, because you have to remember, like, actually any really of the Empire characters that we met during the course of the series,
Mhm.
None of them had happy endings, and like we even know Krennic's ending by the end of Rogue One. He doesn't, have
Yep.
a
Yep.
like a happy outcome either. So, uh, yeah, so it's like interesting that like like Dedra ends up looks like an Aldani. You
Mhm.
know,
And Narkina.
Oh yeah, Narkina. Yeah, that's right. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, and breaking down and crying too, which just seems like one of the first times she kind of shows like genuine emotion.
For sure.
To, so that's kind of interesting too, because I was kind of wondering because we see Cyril's mom react to us like
Mhm.
she doesn't like specifically hear that like he's dead. At least we don't see that on screen, but she's
Yeah.
probably just assuming since he was there. Um, but like we can kind of see, like even though she like was pestering him all the time, like she did like actually genuinely care about her son.
Yeah.
Uh, so but yeah, like Mike kind of said in his 5 minute thing too, is that they had me for a second like wondering if like when Cyril kind of put two and two together about what was going on, is like, oh, is he gonna
Mhm.
like flip kind of like Callus and Rebels and like
Yeah.
like become part of it? And I was like, nope, no,
Yeah.
he's still just a douche, and now he's
Look,
committing
that's not
domestic violence, so he's even more of a douche
yeah,
now. All right, so
yeah.
yeah, he can die.
That's not, flipping is not Tony Gilroy's MO, you
Yeah,
know? I don't think he cares about characters getting happy endings or, like, redemptive endings necessarily in a lot of ways.
yeah,
Um,
at least not for any of the bad guys.
yeah, yeah. It was really interesting, how m the endings of a lot of characters. I assumed more characters were going to die.
Yeah,
I assumed any character that we didn't see in Rogue One was gone, and, I was sorta shocked at how many made it. And how
yeah,
many have survived through, at least through the original trilogy or some of the original trilogy, you know?
yeah, it seems
Um,
like. Yeah,
yeah,
and like
very
yeah,
curious.
because Mothma's already shown up in us on Ahsoka too, like post.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah,
been
yeah, yeah.
nice to see Genevieve Riley still kind of get to
Yeah,
be like
totally.
post. Yeah, which
I'm very
speaking,
curious
go ahead.
if I was just gonna say I'm very curious if any other creators are going to feel like they can pick up those characters because, like, obviously Mon Mothma's a legacy character, has been around, like, they probably feel a little more freedom to be like, "We're gonna put her in Ahsoka, we're gonna put her in this," but, like, will, uh will Vel show up in anything? Will Kleya show up in
Yeah,
anything? Or does that
Wilmon,
feel like you're yeah, Wilmon, yeah, or does that feel like you're stealing Tony's characters a little bit? I'm very curious just to see how they handle
yeah,
all of that. Whether they
Bixen,
get yeah, yeah, Bixen, the
Cassian
child.
Jr.
Yeah, baby Cassian, yeah,
I don't. Yeah, we don't know if it's a if it's a boy or a girl. Um,
yeah, I have no idea.
Casa.
Um,
There you
yeah, yeah,
there you
so I'm curious, I was watching, Josh Horowitz's interview with Tony Gilroy last night, and he was talking about how, mad he was when he found out that someone else had written a K2 and Cassian origin
go. Oh, the
story.
next. Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was just like as soon as I heard that, I was like, "Fuck that, I don't care, we're not using that." Like, he just fully did not care, and I think that's very funny, but I can also imagine them, like, they're gonna put Vel in a comic book at some point. They're gonna put her
yeah,
in a book, and, like, very curious just to see if I don't think he's ever gonna come back to Star Wars. I don't think he's gonna do any more. I think this is probably it,
yeah,
but if he will again just be like, "I don't care. I'm gonna do whatever I wanna do with them," you know?
yeah.
Yeah,
I think if he did, it would maybe be something closer to like what James Mangold has been thinking about
sure.
doing with
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that like or like yes, probably something that's like the less fantastical Star Wars and more kind of like in
yeah,
this vein of Star
yeah.
Wars. Uh, but yeah, like like between that or what was it? There's trying to oh like yeah, because I guess because if Cassian and Bix's kid did show up again, they did it
Mhm,
in the timeline of like Mando. First,
mhm.
that kid would be like what, like 33,
Well, no, in the
34
timeline
or
of
something.
Mando, that kid would only be 6 or something.
Really?
Because Mando's only like 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
That's right. I'm for some reason I'm
I mean,
thinking like that it's closer to
yeah.
episode 7.
If it was like sequel trilogy era, would definitely
Yeah.
be like 30 or 40, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the kid shows up in the Ryan Gosling movie. There you go.
Yeah.
That's
There
far
you go.
enough ahead there.
Yeah. I sort of hope we never see that kid again.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I want.
I did like there was an interview I saw that Gilroy did that he's like putting that in wasn't like we've been kind of saying, not as a way to be like, oh, here's another character to do something with, but it's more of like to give you some small kind of hope for it, that even though we know that Cassian is gone, that
and Marc famously rebellions are built on hope.
That's right.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure people knew that.
The stands for hope. That's what it stands for.
Look at that.
But yeah. And what did you think about K2SO in this though too? Because I remember I also saw something too that there was originally going to be an episode where it was kind of like Alien with K2 and that would have been episode 9. But I'm obviously happy what we got for the episode 9 of this series. But like, what did you think for the little bit we got a K2 peppered in there for the last few episodes?
I mean, I do wish we had more K2. It obviously the tone changes when K2's there. The tone of the show changes. And Tony was talking about in that interview too, where he's like, it's really hard to write K2 into movie or into scenes because like he can't hide, he can't be sneaky, he can't, like it's a big character and like in so many ways, both in personality and in like physicality. And I think that it's hard to do a spy show of characters sneaking around and like, not doing that, and to add in a 9-foot tall wisecracking character like fundamentally changes that show. So as much as I do wish that K2 came earlier, because I definitely wish there was more K2. I completely understand why he waited so long, But that scene with them playing the game around the table is like so important and so crucial to like building that character and building that relationship between them and with Melshi too.
Yeah, you get like a built-in history without having to.
Yeah, you sort of don't need him in other stuff. You're like, I got it immediately,
Yeah.
So as much as I sort of feel like that is what they will build on in comics and stuff, I'm like, you can fill in that year of like K2 and Melshi and Cassian adventures running around.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
And yeah, like I saw our friend Aspen. We talked to Aspen.
Oh, yeah, I know Aspen. Yeah.
They were saying that the K2 scene, like in the hallway and stuff in between episodes 11 and 12, was their like Vader at the end of Rogue One. Scene for them. Which I just like how you can like see how strong K2 is from that scene. Just like it was just like smacking people like off of like railings and stuff, and then he's just holding like that dude as like a basic, which I thought was weird that the other ISB agent is just like point blank shooting the guy. I was like, why are you like? It just shows like again like how the ISB agents like really don't care about each other.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, the one, there. I am very curious how it was so impossible for him to get shot, but then in Rogue One, very easily gets shot. That is something that I like think about. I know it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. It is just interesting that was not something that they would like.
He didn't get shot in this because he had to get shot in that.
I know, but he does. They shoot him a few times. On Gorman,
That's true.
I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much. Like ultimately, it's something I can explain as like, the guns were not as strong on Gorman as they are. The Imperial guns are, something like that. But like, there's some bullshit explanation you can give to like explain it all the way. As is there for everything in Star Wars. Someone will come up with a reason eventually why that happened.
Yeah, and with speaking of Gorman, like I thought the Gorman Massacre stuff was done really well within this
Mhm.
season 2. That was last week. But like
Yeah.
that whole arc of the Gorman Massacre was fantastic with like
Yeah.
really setting the stage with that and how well like that was done. And that's what's funny is to I don't know if it's funny, but like it's funny to see people that like watch Star Wars and then don't and like we're like, wait, are we the bad guys kind of thing? Like we're watching that and then they think that stuff is being injected into the show to be timely. I was like, no, that's always been part of Star Wars. And if you're seeing that,
Yeah. People are stupid, Mark. People are really stupid.
it's like if
There's a
you're
lot of
seeing that,
there's a
doesn't it
lot
feel
of
like you're
stuff.
telling on yourself if you're
Uh-huh.
seeing that and thinking it's talking about you?
There's a lot of Star Wars fans and Star Wars influencers who are real dumb, and I would say that to their face.
But certainly a
Media literacy is at an all-time low, and that is point blank with those guys. Where you're like, "Hey, man, this has always been here.
yeah,
You
that
just
certainly is
were."
a Star Wars theory.
Oh, that's a very interesting theory.
Yeah,
That's very theories are bad. I don't like talking about theories. I think theories are real stupid. You know,
yeah,
just in
agreed.
general, I think a lot of theories are very stupid.
Very true.
Yeah, but
Uh,
no, I mean that arc is so amazing, and I think one of the things, like, we're watching the first arc out there, and just the sets on the show are so insane, and that Gorman town center set adds so much to those episodes.
yeah,
Just because you, like, it feels so visceral and it feels like you're really there, and it's uh you know you can immediately figure out where you are in the space because it exists and because you can see it, and you're like, I know where they are, I know where things are in relationship to each other, and I think that happens so much easier when your brain can look at something and be like, that's real, and I'm able
yeah,
to, like, comprehend the shape of things and where things lie with each other.
yeah.
um and
Speaking of
that
that,
adds
I
so much.
like how much of the
Yep,
show is practically like filmed like on locations and
totally.
sets and whatnot.
Yeah, the Senate Coruscant stuff, the outside Senate Coruscant stuff, when they're where the car park is and they're, walking along the
Oh yeah,
overpass,
the
going down the
bridge. Yeah,
stairs and stuff. It's crazy, and that's a real thing in Spain, and it just makes me wanna go to Spain. I've never been to
yeah,
Spain, and, like, seeing the things on this show being like, "Oh, wow. That's insane that that exists," and, whose house was it? When they went to the Imperial party, when Mon was at the Imperial party,
oh yeah,
like, that building is also a real building in Spain, and just, like, it's amazing to it must be so cool to be a locations director for a show like this, and just
yeah,
to be like, "Well, obviously, that's a space building." Like, I saw this
yeah,
building one time in Spain, and I was like, "That's a space building, we have to use it." It's gotta be so
yeah.
fun. It's
I
gotta
think that
be, yeah.
some of the stuff in Rogue One are like subways, like in the underground in
Yeah,
England
yeah,
too.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
if, like if you take a certain tube,
yeah.
uh,
I think
like
it's
rail there, you'd be like, hey,
Canary
I
Wharf.
feel like I'm in Rogue One right now. So
Yeah, I think it's the Canary Wharf, station in
yeah, I
London,
think
which
so.
is it's so cool. It's so cool.
Uh,
It's a good show.
with speaking of Mon Mothma, I saw another thing too with that Gilroy is saying that he's trying to get the stems made available for the
The Outlaws? Yeah,
her
yeah, yeah.
daughter's wedding, so that DJs can like use that for weddings. Uh,
If if that's the lasting legacy of this show, is that Niamos is played at proms and weddings for years
yeah,
to come, like, I'm all for it. That's great.
yeah.
I hope they
Uh,
start playing it in Oga's Cantina in Disneyland.
oh yeah, that would be.
That's
I feel like
that's
that's a
the dream.
no-brainer too. Yeah,
So
to
easy.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
just I mean
Yeah.
DJ Rex has to know he's got to play that, so
Uh-huh.
he knows what's up.
He does.
Yeah. Uh, and like Star Wars Social even knows what's up with that because they realistically like an hour version of
Yeah.
Mothma just dancing to that. So if anyone
Yeah.
just wants to watch Genevieve O'Reilly dance for an hour to that song, just go to the Star Wars YouTube channel. It's there for you,
Yeah.
ready and willing for you to watch it.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the other things I really enjoyed about this show too is like with Cassian's arc from like what we saw from that first season through to the end of this season, and like even like he has like
Mhm.
that final shot of kind of like his hero shot with his, the jacket that he's going to be wearing during Rogue One.
Yeah.
It's like a slow motion shot without being a slow motion shot, because like
Yeah.
if you watch Rogue One, you kind of like know the rest of where his path is going to be taking him from the end of this. So like just like he ends up earning like the trust of from Vel and Mon Mothma's factions, and then is like entrusted with like critical missions, and then
Mhm.
basically, that now he's going to meet the informant and Calfreen that we'll see at the beginning of
Mhm.
Rogue One there, and now we know why he's just gonna straight up shoot the dude, and then
Tivik.
he's like,
His
yeah,
name's
he's
Tivik. Show him some respect. Tivik.
yeah, no, Cassian didn't show him any respect, so why should we? But yeah, like he's not running anymore. He's now like he's embracing the leading. He even gives like a look over to the kind of force sensitive, I guess, fortune teller in a way,
Yeah.
that
Force.
him and Bix were talking to, and she kind of gives him an annoying look. That was the thing too, is like with the end of the episode last week, where Bix is like, I'll go off and then you can find me after. I was like, that's sadder than if Bix had died, because it's like we know that he won't. But I do like that we see her with their kid,
Yeah.
so it is good to know that like that kind of lives on in a way. So I'm happy
Yeah.
about that.
It's amazing that it's got to be so hard to write prequel a prequel to a prequel,
Yeah,
where we know where this is going to end, and yet so many things can still be so exciting. Like Mon Mothma's not going to die, Cassian's not going to die, but them leaving that Senate chamber is like one of the most thrilling hours of television. One of the most like
yeah,
intense, scary, thrilling hours of television, and that's one of the most impressive things about the show is just like the end game, but you can sort of fuck around in between there because so many of the other
yeah,
players are not expendable, but like are up for grabs and you don't know what's going to happen with them. But you can
yeah,
still be scared for the characters that are going to survive. And
yeah,
that's really what maybe the most impressive thing about the show. Even the ending, like sort of a lackluster. If you look at the things that happen in the finale,
yeah,
you're like, okay, well, that's the end. All right, I guess. And if you didn't know that the movie existed, you'd be like, all right, he's just going to see a guy. Like
yeah,
it's not that exciting. But watching it, you're like, you're filled with emotion. You're so excited. You're like so into it, and it's really insane that he was able to pull it off.
yeah. What's kind of cool to think about with that though is that like I guess from years from now, like say like a younger person is watching through Star Wars for the first time, and maybe they're watching it in kind of timeline order,
Yeah,
and they watch Andor, and then someone tells them it's like, oh, there's a movie that comes right after that, and then they
yeah,
watch it. Like, so
yeah,
it's interesting to kind of think about like future people that will get to come to this not having had any kind of history with
for
Rogue One,
sure,
and then getting to experience it after that, and then just
for
how
sure.
they'll already have that deeper connection with like, especially like K2 and Melshi and
Yeah,
Cassian there.
yeah.
That was one of the other things that I saw Gilroy say too, like what you were saying was like writing a prequel to a prequel, is that they, in some ways, it was freeing for them to know where their ending was, so they could
Mm-hmm.
write that. They could write these episodes knowing where they had to get the people, but not having to, like, and then just like what they would do to fill in those beats in between. And like what you
Totally.
were saying too is like we know who was alive and who we saw in Rogue One,
Mm-hmm.
but so that's like that was what I was doing this whole season. I was like, all right, so we know Luthen, Cyril, DJ. We know all these people aren't in Rogue One, so
Yeah.
who's gonna like? And you don't necessarily have to die, so
No,
because
totally.
like we saw like Bix, just goes off,
Yeah.
or like you were saying like Bell and Kleya and Wilmon are all
Yeah.
just there on Yavin, but we just don't necessarily see them. Just like, you know, the Ghost crew is there on Yavin. Technically, at that same time, we just don't see them.
I would have paid $1 million if Tony Gilroy had to write a Zeb scene, though. You know,
Nice. Or you
if
see
they, were, yeah, if they were
Winstead
like,
walk through the background.
yeah, but just forcing him to like have to watch Rebels to like understand who these characters are is very funny to me.
Well, Chopper does show up in Rogue One.
That's true, but I don't think Tony Gilroy knows that. I don't think he was ever told that. I bet Gareth Edwards knows. I think Gareth Edwards is probably like, yeah, sure, I love it all, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think this, like, the season overall and like what we got to see with ultimately, what was the actor who was with Deidre most of the time? He was on Game of Thrones too.
Partagaz?
Yeah, part of it. So like his like kind of scene like where he's kind of has like a reckoning there too, and rather than kind of like go face it, he takes himself out and he shot first. So to steal like a Star Wars phrase, I thought that was interesting to kind of show that, like, again, that like he's not even willing to like face like his own consequences. He just, but yeah, and then like, yeah, between that and, you know, Dedra's in prison, Cyril's already gone, and then I think those were most of like, and then obviously we know what happens to Krennic, that like what we followed although, and then even like I know he's not technically like he was working kind of like for Luthen, but even like Luthen taking him out after he gave him the info too. So it's like none of the people that worked in the Empire really make it out of the show. So it's a good way to.
Yeah, I mean it's again, it really like Tony was talking about it in that interview is great, by the way. If people haven't seen it, it's Josh Horowitz's podcast. He did it at the 92nd Street Y, but it's all on YouTube. You can watch the video. And he talks about how like one major component of fascism that happens throughout history in every version of a fascistic government that has happened is like eventually they will turn on themselves and they will eat their young, and everyone who is not the number one guy will die or get kicked out or jailed or whatever. And this is like a real you know, it shows you that version of that where you're like, none of these guys get the power that they think they're going to get by joining up with this cause, and they either die or they, you know, get sent to prison or whatever, but like it doesn't work out well for them, and in the end they're not there when all of the important interesting things happen, you know, because they've been chewed up and spit out.
Lauren said it too with like bringing back Nemec's manifesto in the last episode there too, with him listening to it, and it seemingly it felt like he was kind of, you know, it was like hitting him in a different way. It seemed like a little bit, making him, I don't know, like if rethink stuff, but like kind of seeing that like how it was like spreading like the spark that, to quote Mr. Poe Dameron, there's the spark that lit the fire that will bring the, not First Order, but the Empire down, and eventually I guess the First Order too.
Yeah, but it's I mean it is one of those like, are we the baddies moments, you know? It's one of those things where you like see him realize, oh no, I've wasted my life and I've wasted my time because this is happening whether I do anything about it or not. So we really messed up. I've made a terrible mistake, and then he does the Charlie Brown walk and face plants on the ground. It's very sad.
As we kind of like wrap up on this, was there anything else that like stood out in this season? Would you have rather, because I think at one point they wanted to do like 5 seasons and have each season be a year, and then it seems like that sped up after season 1 to just do season 1 being 1 year and then season 2 being
Yeah.
the next 4 years.
Yeah. Would I have wanted that? I mean, I think in theory, the only good Star Wars theory is that yes, I would have wanted that in theory, but in practice, like I completely understand how like 2 seasons of this show like really drained them because it's so much work and so much
Yeah.
like mentally draining to work on a project like this. I completely get that. Um, and also Diego would have been 60 by the time this show ended, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
there were definitely some arcs where I'm like, "Oh, I wish this was either fleshed out a little more," or like, I feel like we're missing a few details that would have made this a more enjoyable thing, but they obviously didn't have time to do that. And were there characters I would have loved to have seen more? Yeah, of course. Like I loved all the Saw stuff that we got, all the partisan stuff that we got was really cool, really fun, and I feel like we're gonna see more Saw. I don't think this is the end of Forrest Whitaker playing that character. Um, but I also would have liked more Radis. I would have liked more of those 2 weird senators. I wish, there's the line where he says like, what's it? American Dodonna are off planet. They'll be here tomorrow, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
just screaming, oh, they had scheduling conflicts. Like there's clearly a reason they're not there, and it's because they weren't around. And I would have loved to have seen more of them just because it feels like, Dodonna's obviously been there since New Hope, and he feels like such an important character in the rebellion that the lack of stuff that we've actually gotten from him makes you think he's maybe not that important,
Yeah.
and we, Lauren's right. Like we need more Elizabeth Lau. But there's so many characters that I would have just liked to have seen more. Lauren's asking if you guys could expand one arc to a season, which would you pick? It's a great question. Maybe this last arc, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe like season 1 is 1 year, season 2 is like
2, 3, 4.
years, and then
Yeah.
the last season is this last year, and then Rogue
Yeah.
One.
I think they probably could have done 3 seasons. Like that feels like if you're really going to
Yeah.
stretch it out, 3 is like the most
Act
you would
1,
want to do.
Act 2,
Yeah.
Act 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy with what we got, and I'm not going to complain about that because I think it's a miracle that it got made and got made at the level that it did get made.
One episode of Mon Mothma Yavin hair.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Show me how she got that haircut. Where's the Yavin 4 barber?
K2.
K2.
Yeah.
K2.
That's what he does when he's not doing
Maybe,
stuff with Cassian.
Maybe they have one of those chef droids from Jabba's palace from Book of Boba,
Oh, yeah.
and maybe he's doing the haircuts.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or Chopper.
Or Chopper.
Chopper. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's kind of. I think I agree with that. Like if I was going to expand anything, it would maybe be like these last 3 episodes to make that a season.
Yeah.
And the one other thing I did see was that I guess it was a deleted scene where we would have found out that Perrin actually was trustworthy the entire time, which that definitely would have been. You'd be like, what? Where you and like in the show, you don't necessarily know they're. You just kind of see him like in what looks like a cab with like some random lady, and he's like,
well, it's not some random ladies. You know who that is?
Oh, I didn't.
It's the daughter's mother-in-law.
Oh.
It's the woman who married, her son married their daughter.
Oh.
Yeah. Changes things a little bit, doesn't it? It makes things a little weird.
I did not notice that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I would have loved to have gotten more from them too, the husband and the daughter. Like, I think that's such a fascinating
to see like how that affected them, like after like Mon had to like just like leave.
For sure. I mean, I assume all of the like that feels like such a book thing, Yeah. That feels like that will be covered in a book at some point. Because I think Perrin's like a decent character in that new one that just came out, Reign of Terror or whatever it's called. There's a Mon Mothma book that came out like 2 months ago, and I think Perrin's pretty big in it. So
yeah, but I think that would have been interesting to see that. I saw that interview and I was like, oh, that'd be an interesting thing to have seen, and that definitely would have, I guess, repainted like how, just because I've been saying since the first season, I was like, man, Perrin sucks.
Yeah,
So like
for sure.
if they had shown that, like, oh, like he still sucked, but like not as
Yeah.
much as we thought he sucked.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but yeah. So I think that'll wrap us up because we're right at like about an hour now. So I think that'll do it for us. But we already kind of talked about it, but where can people find you online, Patrick, if you would like them to find you?
You can find me. My main social media at this point is Instagram at Cotnoir, which is right there. Look at that, right there, convenient. But I'm on all the other stuff. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm still on Twitter. I don't know why I should get off. You can watch the George Lucas Talk Show on YouTube. It's a show I do with comedians Connor Ralph and Griffin Newman. They host a talk show. Connor plays George, Griffin plays Watto. I play myself. We interview real people as ourselves. It's a regular talk show. Recent episode I recommend watching is the John Hamm, Seth Rogen, Rich Summer episode. Just happened at Nice Typewriter. It's very fun. You can also listen to my podcast called Hey That's Me, a commentary podcast. We do commentaries on TV shows and movies with people who never got to do commentaries for them. And if you're a Star Wars fan, we did 2 episodes of Kenobi with Vivian Lyra Blair, which was really fun. She had a lot of stories and truly remembered everything about filming, which was great. But we have a lot of really good episodes, and a lot of really good ones that have not come out yet that we've recorded.
Nice.
And my last thing is next Saturday, May 31st, I think it's May 31st, is right. We've been doing live reads of the Star Wars scripts at Dynasty Typewriter in Los Angeles. Next Saturday is Empire Strikes Back, the all-star casts. The cast for this one will be announced very soon. In-person tickets are sold out, but streaming tickets are still available. And would love it if you buy a streaming ticket. It supports the show and helps a lot and helps us keep doing these because they weirdly do cost a lot of money because we make a lot of props and costumes and pay for music and all of this stuff. And I finalized the cast today, and it's bonkers. It's truly crazy. So check it out. You can buy tickets.
Seen it before. Definitely should check them out.
swliveread.com has a link with all the YouTube links and the ticket link for this upcoming one.
Nice. And you are welcome, Lauren.
Happy to help, Lauren.
Very welcome. Yeah, and then for us, for the Holdo Maneuver, you can just find all of our stuff at holdopod.com or holdomaneuver.com if you want to spell out the entire word maneuver. But Holdopod's there for people that can't spell maneuver, like Mike. But yeah, I want to thank you again, Patrick, for joining us this week. And since Mike's not here, I'll do you know our sign off?
Oh shoot! Remind me in the private chat.
All right, hold on a second.
I feel like
everybody in our chat talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, as soon as you give me a hint, I'll remember it. We're waiting. Oh, sure. Okay.
So, as always, we are grateful to George Lucas for creating the Star Wars universe.
Thank the maker.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.